The House will come to order. Representative Lynch will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I love you guys too, but I don't know about this 11:30 stuff. Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Gregorio, please call the roll.
Representatives Amabile, Arndt, Bacon, Baisley, Benavides, Representative Benavides. Representative Benavides is excused. Burnett, Byrd, Bockenfeld, Bradfield, Caraveo, Carver, Catlin, Cutter, Doherty, Duran, Escar, Exum, Froelich, Representative Froelich, Geithner, Gonzalez Gutierrez, Gray, Representative Gray. Representative Gray is excused. Hanks, Harrod, Representative Harrod. Representative Harrod is excused. Holtorf, Hooten, Representative Hooten. Representative Hooten is excused. Jackson, Representative Jackson. Representative Jackson is excused. Judah, Kennedy, Kipp, Larson, Montine, Luck, Representative Luck. Representative Luck is excused. Lynch, McCluskey, McCormick, McKean, McLaughlin.
Good morning. Good morning.
Michael Sinjane.
Present.
Mullica. Representative Mullica. Representative Mullica is excused. Neville. Ortiz. Representative Ortiz. Representative Ortiz is excused. Pelton.
Yes, sir.
Pico. Ransom. Rich. Ricks. Representative Ricks. Representative Ricks is excused. Roberts. Sandridge. Sirota. Snyder. Soper. Representative Soper. Representative Soper is excused. Sullivan. Tipper. Representative Tipper. Representative Tipper is excused. Tatone. Valdez A. Valdez D. Van Bever. Van Winkle. Weissman. Will. Williams. Woodrow. Woog. Young. And Mr. Speaker.
With 58 present, 7 excused, we have a quorum. Representative Lynch, come on down.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Journal of Wednesday, April 14th, 2021 be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk.
You have heard the motion that the journal be approved as corrected by the chief clerk. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Well, that was a really good aye. All those opposed, no. No. Whoa, that was in unison. That was actually pretty. The ayes clearly have it, and the motion is adopted. Announcements and introductions. Representative Van Winkle.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, if I could just have a moment to thank our tremendous front desk staff, Robin Jones,
Here, here.
Jared, his whole team. I want to and the sergeants, the state patrol that stay here late with us, but after we go home, if we go home at midnight, they stay here for hours and hours afterwards because, as you heard, as corrected by the chief clerk. That means they go over every vote, they go over every motion, make sure it's recorded perfectly in the journal. They stay here for hours, and then they wake up and do it again the next day. They get here hours before us. I don't know if they slept last night, so thank you so much. God bless each and every one of you.
Here, here. Thank you, Representative Van Winkle. That was a very important announcement and recognition. Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have two things. I have received approval from the Majority Leader to be excused tomorrow, April 16th.
So approved.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And then Business Affairs and Labor Committee, we have a committee hearing this afternoon at 1:30 in room 112. We have 3 bills on the agenda: House Bill 1263, Senate Bill 133, and House Bill 1239.
Thanks, Representative Roberts. Representative Weissman.
Thank you, and good morning, Mr. Speaker. First, I strongly second the sentiments of our colleague from Highlands Ranch. When we're here late, we signed up for that, but our nonpartisan staff are doing this out of a sense of service to something that is bigger and will last longer than any of us. So again, thank you. The other announcement is, the teaching of this session is sort of when it's hard, you got to lean in, and I agree with Rep. Lynch about the timing. So for Judiciary Committee members, I did think about getting the big room and booking us for 6 bills and a special hearing today. But we're not going to do that. We'll meet next Tuesday as planned, and not sooner.
Great. Representative McLaughlin.
Thank you. The Education Committee is not nearly that kind. We have 4 bills up today, and they're all on the calendar, so we can't wait to see you there.
Thank you, Representative McLaughlin. Representative Byrd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, if it's Thursday, it's finance again. So today we meet upon adjournment in Committee Room 0112. We'll be hearing House Bill 1150, 1141, and Senate Bill 82. Be there or be square.
Thank you, Representative Byrd. Representative Pelton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've been given permission to be gone Monday. Going to a bull sale, I will still be dealing with bull crap, just a different flavor.
So approved, Representative Pelton. Representative Kipp and Representative Mayor-elect.
Good morning, members. We would like to welcome some of our teachers from our district who are here in the chamber. You guys would like to say hello. Thank you so much for coming to visit us at the Capitol.
Thanks for being teachers.
Welcome to the People's House, and thank you for your service. Representative Baisley and Representative Exum.
You, sir.
Representative Exum.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, today is Jackie Robinson Day. Jack Roosevelt Robinson became the first African American to play in the Major League Baseball in the modern era. Jackie Robinson broke the baseball color line when he started at first base for the Brooklyn Dodgers on April 15, 1947. Robinson was selected for his phenomenal athletic skills, but even more his character, something that was critical in changing the culture of sports in America. During his 10-year career in the Major League Baseball, Jackie Robinson won the inaugural Rookie of the Year in 1947. He was the All-Star for 6 consecutive seasons from 1949 to 1954 and won the National League Most Valuable Player in 1949. The first black player to be honored, Robinson played in 6 World Series and contributed to the Brooklyn Dodgers' 1955 World Series championship. Jackie Robinson was introduced in the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1962, and after his death in 1972, Robinson was posthumously awarded both the Congressional Gold Medal and the Presidential Medal of Freedom in recognition of his achievements on and off the field.
Representative Beasley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In 1997, Major League Baseball retired Jackie Robinson's uniform number 42. And if you haven't seen that movie, go see that movie. That's an amazing movie. So it retired his uniform number 42 across all Major League teams. Jackie Robinson was the first professional athlete in any sport to be so honored. Major League Baseball also adopted an annual tradition, Jackie Robinson Day, celebrated on this day, each April 15, throughout the nation, when every baseball player on every baseball team wears number 42 on their jersey. And, not coincidentally, since Jackie Robinson was in the played for the Dodgers, our folks, our Rockies, are playing the Dodgers today out in Los Angeles. Anyway, and thanks to a constituent of mine who's up in the gallery today, Mr. Colt Simmons, we have here to share, it's a show and tell day, an autographed sketch of Jackie Robinson, he autographed, along with 1955 World Series ring, which Mr. Simmons plans to contribute to the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. Thank you, Colt Simmons, for your contribution, for lending this to the Capitol. So, anyone wants to see it, we'll keep this down here for a while. Anybody wants to come look at it up close and get your picture taken with it and that sort of thing, please do. Thank you, Representative Exum.
Thank you, Representative Exum. Thank you, Representative Beasley. Representative Ransom and Representative Geithner. We have a tribute, members.
Good morning, everybody. I have a tribute that I will ask to be read at length.
The House of Representatives, convened in the 73rd General Assembly, hereby acknowledges and honors Home Education Day. Colorado law declares the right and obligation of parents to choose the proper education and training for their children. The members of the Colorado House of Representatives are thereby proud to recognize April 15th as Home Education Day in Colorado. The Colorado House further recognizes parents who educate their children at home for their continuing sacrifice and commitment towards producing graduates who are successful and productive citizens because of the values, education, and training they have received from their parents. Home-educated students are civically engaged, are well socialized, and score above average on standardized academic achievement tests. We are proud to honor, celebrate, and thank home educators and their children for their dedication to educational excellence and for their contributions to their communities. On request of Representatives Kim Ransom, Mark Baisley, and Tim Geithner, given this 15th day of April, 2021, State Capitol, Denver.
Thank you, Mr. Gregorio. Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, members. Go ahead and sit down if you'd like. I wanted to clearly be part of this tribute today, even though my kids are all grown. Those of you that are new probably don't remember or know that up until last year when COVID hit, before that, on Homeschool Day at the Capitol, we used to have hordes of young children running around the Capitol learning stuff. They would have assignments and they'd be either doing scavenger hunts, finding things, or they would be handing out cookies to every single legislator. They usually hand out handmade cookies or pies to all the legislators, and they would ask us really good questions. Obviously, they can't do that this year. It is being done virtually, but they will be watching today. And I also wanted those of you that are new, I homeschooled my children. I think you know I'm a single mom. I also have 4 children. They were all homeschooled, although not the whole way through. And the 3 of mine that went to college all went on academic scholarships. That's not need-based, that is academic scholarships. And I always like to sing the praises of one-on-one tutoring, although I will also admit that homeschooling, while anyone can do it, I'm the first to admit it may not be the best choice for every parent. And I also know that there are a lot of children that really thrive in their local schools, which is why you saw me yesterday while we were working on the budget. We all tried really hard to get our public schools well funded and get our teachers to be well paid. And I know you know that I'm always a fan of that. But with that, I also will sing the praises of the parents that work really hard now to make sure their children get the best education for them. They take advantage of their family dynamics, the way it works, and it truly is a really good option for many, many of the children in Colorado.
Representative Geithner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, as a homeschool parent myself, my wife and I have been doing it since our kids started their educational careers, and now they're in 5th and 7th grade. And I have to tell you, it's probably one of the most rewarding things that we have been able to do as a family. Colorado allows for a lot of flexibility, and the homeschool community is a tight-knit community. There is constant exchange of this curriculum over this one, or this one works best, or have you gotten this coupon or this deal? I mean, we are so tight and so invested in each other and the ability to take this journey along with our kids as a family together. It's incredibly rewarding. You know, I can speak personally from just the flexibility that homeschooling offers, and that is, you know, I'm dyslexic. We found out that my son was dyslexic, and we saw him struggling, you know, as he was reading, my oldest son. And my youngest son would look at my oldest son, my oldest son would look at my youngest son, and he would sit back and he would say, you know, how come he gets it? How come I'm struggling? And you could just start to see him frustrated and struggling, but we were able to adapt so quickly. The ability to be so flexible really turned things around. He is a ferocious reader now, I'm pleased to say, probably reads more than anybody else in the house. And every time he's with a book, I'm like, hey, how's that book going for you? And he, you know, tells me a little about the book. And I said, make sure you thank your mom, because she gave you that gift that you have, that you will always have. And so for all the moms out there, the dads out there that are homeschoolers, thanks for what you do. You have a huge impact on families, on kids, and on the direction, quite frankly, of the state. And so I'm pleased to be here with Representative Ransom and Representative Baisley.
Representative Baisley.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Speaker. My apologies.
No problem.
We appreciate every teacher. I think everyone in the room agrees that we don't pay them enough. In the case of homeschools, yeah, we don't pay them at all, those parents. But God bless them all, because they're stepping up for what they believe is the best route for their students, for their children. And so I'm appreciative that we have built right into statute and Constitution the allowance, the flexibility within Colorado to take whatever options that you believe is best for your student. We all want the best for our students, and who knows better than their parents. So when they step up and try to juggle everything else in life, making a living and teaching their students at home, that's pretty amazing. So God bless you all, and we just appreciate that opportunity, appreciate all those parents.
Representative Pelton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My wife and I homeschooled our girls. Well, I was in charge of field trips. I didn't do any real teaching, but it was great. It was mentioned about flexibility. You know, they could learn everything they needed to by noon, and then had the whole afternoon, or sometimes we'd just pick up and go on a over weekend deal. And my youngest daughter has decided to homeschool her kids. She's been doing that now for 4 years, I think. So it's a great thing, and I'm glad this tribute was here today.
Great. Thank you guys very much. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to proceed out of order for immediate consideration of third reading of bills.
Seeing no objection, we will proceed out of order for third reading of bills, final passage. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of the Senate Bill 196.
Senate Bill 196 by Senator Fenberg, also Representatives Escar and McKean, concerning payment of expenses of the Legislative Department.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 196 on third reading, final passage.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 196? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 196 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Jackson votes yes. Representative Michelson-Jeannet, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Michelson-Jeannet votes yes. Representative McLaughlin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative McLaughlin votes yes. Please close the machine. With 53 aye votes, 11 no votes, and 1 excused, Senate Bill 196 is passed.
You're going to amend it through that bill.
Minority Leader McKean.
Mr. Speaker, very, very respectfully, as I understand it, there's a bill possibly coming to amend this bill. So with that in mind, very respectfully, I ask for my name to be removed as a co-sponsor.
Okay, Representative McKee, Mr. Minority's name will be removed as a co-sponsor. With that, we'll open up co-sponsors. Representative Michelson-Jeannet, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of Senate Bill 210.
Senate Bill 210 by Senator Hansen, also Representative Ransom, concerning expanding the definition of electronic monitoring services to include remote supports for the home and community-based services waiver for the elderly, blind, and disabled.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 210 on third reading, final passage.
Question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 210 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Jackson votes yes. Representative Michelson-Jeannet, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Michelson-Jeannet votes yes. Representative McLaughlin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative McLaughlin votes yes. Please close the machine. With 64 aye votes, no votes, and 1 excuse, Senate Bill 210 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative McLaughlin, co-sponsor. Jackson, co-sponsor. Michelson-Jeannet, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of the Senate Bill 224.
Senate Bill 224 by Senator Hansen, also Representative Ransom, concerning capital-related transfers of money.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 224 on third reading, final passage.
Question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 224 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Jackson votes yes. Representative Michelson-Jeannet, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Michelson-Jeannet votes yes. Representative McLaughlin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative McLaughlin votes yes. Please close the machine. With 64 aye votes, 0 no votes, and 1 excuse, Senate Bill 224 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of the Senate Bill 225.
Senate Bill 225 by Senator Hansen, also Representative Ransom, concerning the repayment of cash funds from which money was transferred in 2020 for the purpose of augmenting the general fund.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 225 on third reading, final passage.
Question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 225 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Jackson votes yes. Representative Michelson-Janae, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Michelson-Janae votes yes. Representative McLaughlin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative McLaughlin votes yes. Please close the machine. With 64 aye votes, no votes, and 1 excuse, Senate Bill 225 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative McLaughlin, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of Senate Bill 227.
Senate Bill 227 by Senator Moreno and Rankin, also Representative Ransom, concerning the state emergency reserve and in connection therewith designating the state emergency reserve for the 2021-22 state fiscal year, creating the state emergency reserve cash fund and requiring reimbursements for expenditures from a fund that is designated as part of the state emergency reserve to be returned to the fund.
Nice job, Mr. Gregorio. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 227 on third reading, final passage.
Question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 227 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Jackson votes yes. Representative Michelson-Janae, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Michelson-Janae votes yes. Representative McLaughlin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative McLaughlin votes yes. Please close the machine. With 64 aye votes, no votes, and 1 excuse, Senate Bill 227 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Michelson-Janae and Representative McLaughlin, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of Senate Bill 205.
Senate Bill 205 by Senator Moreno, also Representative McCluskey, concerning the provision for payment of the expenses of the executive, legislative, and judicial departments of the state of Colorado and of its agencies and institutions for and during the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2021, except as otherwise noted.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 205 on third reading, final passage.
Representative Herod.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I want to thank you all for being here for such a long night last night and working hard to help build the state budget for Colorado from the House's perspective. We made good work this year, and I want to thank our bill sponsor, Madam Vice Chair of the Joint Budget Committee, for really ushering through this change, and of course all of the staff who worked so hard. This year, I'm proud to have been the first year on the Joint Budget Committee, and I must say this with a bit of a reserve because I know that the members in the past have really had to struggle dealing with a budget that was much different than this year's budget. So I want to also acknowledge the hard work that they did when they were having to make very difficult cuts in a very difficult time. But this year, we didn't have to make those same types of decisions. And I'm very proud to say that with bipartisan support, we passed a budget that really focuses on and has made historic investments in equity. That includes funding for equity efforts in nearly every single department across the state of Colorado. We decreased prison beds across the state, including our utilization of private prisons in Colorado. We also invested in work programs for our inmates, reentry programs, substance use and mental health treatment to ensure that when folks come back into our community, they're able to be successful. We increased state employee pay by 3% while also increasing provider rate pay, providers who offer so many needed services to the people of Colorado. We made historic investments in higher education, something that I am truly passionate about as a student of higher education here in Colorado. We restored cuts to essential programs that, again, we've had to cut in the past that we no longer had to cut this year, including programs to support moms and families with substance misuse challenges throughout the state of Colorado. I'd like to thank my colleague, Representative Pelton, for initially running a bill to focus on those efforts, and I'm proud to say that we were able to refund those efforts this year. We also reinvested in our communities. We focused on building back strong businesses and entrepreneurs, and really fought to ensure that the Colorado comeback is strong. I want to acknowledge that this budget is just one step forward in our recovery. As you all know, we will continue to have a lot of conversations about state stimulus and federal stimulus dollars, but I believe that this is a strong base for how we move forward. And I think the people of Colorado, regardless of their party affiliation, can be proud of the budget that we are moving forward today. So again, I want to thank everyone for their commitment to this process, for being so engaged, and we look forward to future conversations as members of the Joint Budget Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Herod. Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I, too, want to thank my colleagues on the Joint Budget Committee, as well as our friends in the Senate that serve as the 6 members of the Joint Budget Committee as well. As you know, it's a tough job. We've been working on this for 5 months. We started back in November to get you the document that you were working on this week, and then clearly also for some extended hours last night. And I do also especially want to thank the Joint Budget Committee staff, the nonpartisan staff that works over in LSB, that I know I direct many of you to when you have specific line item questions. I also am going to spend a second talking about the budget. I'm not going to start singing the praises of money we spent. What I'd rather do is let you know the places that we saved. And I know that we passed a couple bills on third reading this morning, that we have some good places in the reserves. We set aside some good money for the Tabor Reserve, i.e. it's cash funds, it's no longer buildings. The budget also includes, and you'll hear this too, that we are prepaying para expenses for the next year. We put $100 million into the BEST fund. There are so many areas that we were able to save. One area that I will point out that was in the HICPUF section, and this piece none of you tried to amend out, thank you very much, was that we also addressed the long-lived IDD wait list, that we were able to put a lot of money, over $15 million, towards reducing that wait list by at least 600 people. It's a 3,000 persons on the wait list, and on July 1st, they'll be able to start working with that money that you all set aside. So I want to thank you for that as well. So with that, like I said, I do want to thank my colleagues for their hard work as well, and thank you for your attention last night. I really do appreciate everybody really taking this job seriously, because although the 6 of us are the ones that work on the budget and try to create the document for you, all 100 of us have a vote on this, and we all need to make sure that we have investments for our districts, i.e. we need to pay attention and look at every single department for our district. And with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Representative Ransom. Representative Hanks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll be brief. It was an interesting evening, or yesterday, I guess. It went late into the evening. I enjoyed the experience, actually, a little bit of camaraderie here, mostly when I was taking things off the agenda, but that's okay. I appreciate the comments from both sides this morning on this budget, but my refrain is this is $34.6 billion. It wasn't very many sessions ago, it was half of that. Okay, there's good work done, it's a work of art, I understand, but I don't think we should be too glib about it or even give the appearance of being too self-satisfied, because while we have done great things and our budget is sound and healthy, there's a lot of people that don't have a budget at all because their business is gone. And I think we ought to be really, really humble as we talk about how great we're doing when so many people are asunder here. So again, appreciate the work last night and the opportunity to interact with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Hanks. Sorry, Representative Larson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's an honor to serve with you.
Honor to serve with you as well, Representative Larson.
Members, I do want to come down and echo some of the sentiments of Representative Hanks. First of all, I do want to acknowledge there was a lot of great work done in this budget. We took a big bite out of the IDD wait list. Certainly not as big a bite as I think we ought to have. But there were a lot of good priorities. We did recognize some of the issues that are going forth in our state. But members, I do think that we need to have a larger discussion about what the priorities of this state and the people of this state are. Because what this budget did not do is do anything to alleviate the over $1 billion liability that we have in our unemployment trust fund, which will fall on businesses in short order if nothing is done. What this budget does not do is, in my opinion, and I would posit in the opinion of many of our constituents, adequately fund mental health resources, adequately address the learning loss that our children are facing all across this state, and indeed the behavioral health issues that are coming along with a year of disrupted learning. What this budget does not do, in my opinion, is adequately address the enormous problems that our businesses face, the impending bankruptcies, the challenges faced by our private sector employees who have had their place of employment wiped out or their hours reduced, the ability of working families to get child care. While we've done some, we have not done enough. And we have, for better or worse, because of the nature of the budget, decided to place our financial priorities elsewhere, on places where I don't think have been as severely impacted, including our state employees, including subsidies for individuals who may not be in full compliance with the law. So members, while this has been a better budget than last year, and I do applaud the work that was done, and I realize this is a very difficult task, this is, in my opinion, not a true reflection of the priorities of the people of this state, and therefore I would urge a no vote.
Representative Holtorf.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Esteemed colleagues, I do want to commend the Joint Budget Committee for their dedication. They work many months to try to identify priorities, and it is tedious and arduous work. I will tell you that in my House district, the continued growth of this state budget is not appreciated. There was a time where the state budget was under $20 billion, and then it crested 20 and went on up. There was a time when the state budget was under $30 billion, and then it continued to grow, crested that mark, and continued to climb. And I am pretty sure, based on the direction and the course that has been charted this year and into the future, without a much different perspective and a much greater level of fiscal responsibility and an ability to save and return money to cash reserves in full and to backfill those areas that really need backfill. Unemployment trust fund, for example, that is hundreds of millions of dollars in arrears. And the burden that will be placed on small business in future years will be enormous if that is the only place that they look to recover those shortfalls. It will be enormous. There was a lot of attempts yesterday to redirect money to roads and transportation, to education and educational initiatives, to other things like combating human trafficking and other heinous activities. Unfortunately, those amendments fell on deaf ears and were passed to the wayside. To some degree, I'm saddened by some of that because I do care about people, particularly our youth, to a large extent. And so do all of us, I'm sure. But really, we have to put our money behind those things that we think are so important to the state of Colorado. I still believe in my heart of hearts this is the wrong year to be asking for a pay raise for state employees when so many people don't even have a paycheck. I truly, and we asked in many ways, think that the state employees, if asked, would defer. Just out of the goodness of their hearts and the understanding of the COVID-19 economy and what it has done to so many Coloradoans. So I am truly saddened by the lack of understanding and the lack of prioritization for the areas that I've mentioned, and I would be voting no on this bill.
Minority Leader McKean.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I used to sit where Rep. Baisley sits. And I remember my first year, and I voted no on the supplementals because I thought, why on earth could they not do everything that they said they could do with the budget we gave them last year? And then I found out what supplementals were for, and I'm like, oh, okay. We told them to do other stuff, and so we got to pay for that. And I used to think, okay, there are things in that budget I don't like because there are things in that budget I don't like. And this year, while we had the discussion about Joint Rule 44, we got really down to the brass tacks of what our responsibilities are. I'll vote for this budget. Is there everything in it? No. Are there things I disagree with? No. Well, yes. There are things I disagree with. There are deep disagreements, but we have a constitutional responsibility to go do the work of the state. And it does not mean that we don't stop trying to prioritize. It doesn't mean that we don't stop trying to economize and to streamline things. In fact, I think that's where our attention rightfully should turn. Thank you for your work on this budget. Majority Leader Esgar, I'm going to compliment you again. Thank you for your work on last year's budget that enabled us to do the things that we needed to do this year. So thank you. I know it's hard work, and I know it consumes your lives. So thank you for that. Is there everything here? No. But I'll vote for this budget because we have to do the work of the state. Thank you.
Representative Soper.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And between last night and this morning, I still have not learned Russian. I rise in opposition to the budget. I think that there's a lot more that we could do here, but I do appreciate the work of our budget writers. I definitely know you had an incredibly difficult task and want to echo what Leader McKean was just saying as well. However, there are things that still concern me that are in this budget. For example, in my district, the elimination of certain FTEs at the Delta Correctional Center and the shift away from the prison labor program, which is so crucial to getting inmates out into the community and to start the transition from being in confinement to actually interacting with people in society. It's a very, very important program. It's been something that's also been heavily supported by the inmates as well. Improving our capacity at the insectary, which is something that's very important, starting with the oriental fruit moth, which continues to plague Colorado's orchard industry. They develop over 2 million mac wasps annually for biocontrol of this harmful moth. To be able to support things like CSU extension services, because if there's one thing that we've seen over and over again, it really does feel like the attack on agriculture here in Colorado, and to be able to put more of our state resources to supporting agriculture. And likewise, more resources needs to be placed on technical colleges, because these are the jobs of right now. And having had the 3 largest forest fires in state history in one fire season, we need to be doing more for forest health and forest restoration. But over and over again, you heard us talk about roads and paving roads and fixing roads, adding shoulders to roads. I don't know about you, but when you leave Colorado and you travel to our neighboring states, they have a lot better roads than us. And I believe this is an obligation that Coloradans across the state have told us they want us to do. And if CDOT is not going to step up and actually prioritize and actually do what it is that our constituents keep telling us needs to be fixed, then we as a body need to do that. I also disagree with the 3% pay increase. When compared with our medical providers, who only had a 2.5% increase and a 1% decrease from last year, that's like a 1.5% increase. And considering the fact that a 3% increase this year, while they had no increase last year, but you go back the year before and it was 3%. The year before that it was 3%. It's 2.5%, 1%. Then a year with 0%, then back to 3% and 3%. Over the course of a handful of years, it's a 14% pay increase. I also think that we should not have the State Personnel Office be the one who conducts the study comparing how much they make to the private sector, because the International Monetary Fund has reported that that is not the case at all. The public sector has things that the private sector does not have at all. For example, no one lost their jobs during this pandemic that I'm aware of in the public sector. However, compare that to the private sector. We had 375,000 jobs lost in March and April alone, and to date, only half of those jobs have come back. Our unemployment remains at around 7% higher in rural Colorado. Government employees receive non-pecuniary benefits such as a higher degree of job security than the private sector, longer holidays, and definitely a more generous pension scheme in para. Certainly, we need to pay our state employees well, because they do a good service for the state of Colorado. But timing is everything, and coming out of a pandemic recession in which the counterparts in the private sector have been suffering dramatically, now is not the time, especially when we have so many other priorities that we need to take care of in our state budget. And it's for these reasons that I'm going to be a no vote. But that's not to say that I don't appreciate the good work of the budget writers, because I really do. I definitely know that anytime you have a $34.6 billion budget, that there's going to be things I like and there's going to be things I dislike. It just so happens there's a few things that I dislike that are causing me to vote no. But thank you.
Majority Leader Eskar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I debated if I was going to come down on thirds, because I don't really come down on thirds. I know we hear that a lot, right? Until I do. But I felt I had to. I stood before you all last year, holding back tears, proud of the work that we were able to do as a budget committee, but as the chair of the budget committee, holding back tears, knowing what all we put into it, knowing the tough decisions we had to make. And I want you all to understand that those decisions were made to make sure that Colorado could recover. And here we are today with a completely different budget, paying back things that we had to take money from last year, taking a look at important programs that we had to put on hold and finding a way to continue them this year. Incredible work. You all think you know how hard it is to be on JBC until you serve on JBC. I can attest to that, because I always thought it was a hard job until I served, and then I found out really how hard of a job it is. It's not just balancing priorities. It's making educated, well-informed decisions every single day for months and balancing all of the different needs across this state. Every decision you make is going to impact another decision coming next. And so although last night was a long night and we all had good ideas brought forward and debated them, I want to remind you all, budget night's not the only night you have a voice. The JBC meetings are open meetings. You are invited to participate in those meetings and ask questions of analysts, ask questions of departments, ask for more information. And as a former JBC member, I can tell you how invaluable that was to have your input before budget night. At the end of the day, this is our budget. The JBC is tasked with crafting it and putting it together. But Representative McKean was right. This is the one thing we're constitutionally obligated to do. So if there's things you didn't necessarily like about it, running an amendment that may or may not have gotten on, that's one way to do it. But I, for one, would encourage you to get involved sooner in the process. Get those questions answered. Talk with your JBC members in your caucus, outside of your caucus. Find out why decisions were made. Find out exactly why this JBC decided that the way the budget looks is the way the budget looks. Part of the problem as well is making sure that the state dollars that we have control over, are allocated in the best possible way for the state. We heard a lot about things that weren't funded in this budget. The JBC understands the fuller picture. They are told what funds will be coming into the state specifically to help fund other portions. So should we double spend? Should we spend state dollars and federal dollars on the same thing? Or should we know that federal dollars are coming in to take care of that? We can reallocate state dollars somewhere else. That's what they do for 5 months, probably more than 5 months, to be honest with you, out of the year. They analyze so much information that none of us even know is coming in, because that's not the committee we sit on. That's why we have committees. So we all have our areas of expertise. I want to commend not only this JBC staff, the hours and the work that they have put in to truly help us recover from what we had to do last year is phenomenal. I cannot tell you, just as a Coloradan, not even as a former JBC member, how much I appreciate what you all have been able to do and get put into this budget to help Colorado come back stronger. It's appreciated, it was needed, and I have to say I'm a little jealous that that's what you guys got to do this year. But thank you for doing the work you did. I will be a wholehearted yes and a co-sponsor on this year's budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Majority Leader Eskar. Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was doing pretty well until our majority leader spoke and I started reliving last year. It was painful. So with tears in my eyes, I want to, as my wrap-up comments, invite you all to support this year's long appropriations bill. And here's why. Because it speaks to our values, all of us in this chamber. And what is a budget if it isn't numbers? It is $34.6 billion in total funds, 11.9 in general fund dollars that are significantly higher than last year at this time, dollars that we are putting to good use for Coloradans. $800 million that is going to our small businesses, our behavioral and mental health services, programs, and providers, our affordable housing needs, early childhood care and learning, water, wildfire, that $800 million, those dollars are going to all of the things we talked about yesterday. 520 Coloradans will now be taken off the IDD wait list. Thank you, Representative Ransom, for your leadership on that issue. 520. $480 million to buy down the BS factor to help fund our public schools. $343 million more dollars for low-income Coloradans who need health care, who need our support to make sure they have access to health care during a pandemic. $217 million for capital projects, a significant investment in any year, but particularly this year. $100 million more to our institutions of higher education. Thank you, Representative Herod, for your outstanding leadership on equity and the voice that you brought to those conversations for the students in this state most impacted by the pandemic. $124 million for transportation projects. Yes, we talked about that last night. That money is coming. That money is there. But here are some numbers that I think speak even more to our values. More than 60,000 state employees who have served tirelessly this last year, who are receiving a small increase in wages so that they can meet the demands of inflation and other costs, but so that they can be continuing to serve in the roles that mean so much to all of us. 32 positive, supportive votes from the Senate. Our senators came together, crossed the aisle, talked together, collaborated, and supported this year's long bill. 16 of the smartest people I have ever worked with sit over across the street. Our Joint Budget Committee staff, thank you, Director Campman, I know you're listening. Thank you to all of our analysts who helped inform, guide, and help us learn what was most needed, what the priorities were for our department so that we could make educated, smart decisions. Then there is the Magnificent Seven. There are 6 of us on the Joint Budget Committee. I'm so honored and privileged to serve with the 5 people who helped craft this budget. Chair Moreno, thank you for your mentorship, your guidance, and your patience as I continue to learn about our state's budget. Senator Hansen, Senator Rankin, you are models for us in how this budgeting needs to be done. Rep Ransom, Rep Herod, thank you for being partners in this work. And Majority Leader Escar, you are forever a part of our Joint Budget Committee. And then there were the 5 long months that brought us here. The 12 hours of robust debate yesterday. That's the 65. For those of you that took the time to sit in on our hearings and briefings and conversations this past 5 months, thank you. We all felt that your participation made this budget better, and I invite you, as Majority Leader Escar did, to do that again next year. Join us at the table, be a part of those discussions early. So, we're left with one, the number 1, your vote. You know, what we do in this chamber isn't often seen by our constituents, by the folks on the outside of this building. The 12 hours of debate yesterday, it was remarkable to hear, to listen, to learn. But what people will know is how many of us supported the investments that we are making in this budget for them, the savings, the responsible stewardship of their dollars to ensure that Colorado is on a secure and safe path forward. I really want your vote on this budget to demonstrate to the people outside of this building that yes, we do work together, that yes, we do hear each other. And as we move forward with additional funding from the feds coming to this state, we will work together to be sure those dollars are invested in our priorities, in the people's priorities, and make sure that we get ourselves back on a path for economic success, economic recovery, and relief so that Colorado continues to thrive and grow. My greatest gratitude to all of you. Please join me in supporting our long bill. Thank you all. Thank you, Speaker Garnett, for your leadership. Thank you, Minority Leader McKean, for your words and your leadership. Let's do this as leaders for Colorado. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative McCluskey. Representative Buckenfeld.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's an honor to serve with you.
Honor to serve with you as well, Representative Buckenfeld.
I want to talk about some concerns of what I heard here this morning. I have concerns about the process, how things get rubber stamped in this legislature. I'm told that I'm supposed to bow to the JBC.
Representative Buckenfeld, let's not impugn anyone's motives. Let's talk to the bill that's before us.
I'm talking to the bill, sir. The JBC is responsible to us. We bow to our constituents. We go out and we listen to them. We find out what their concerns are, and then we come up here and we present a case of what we feel that our constituents want us to do, not what the JBC wants us to do. They work for us. They put together a preliminary budget. And then we come in and fine-tune that budget to meet the needs of our constituency. The process is wrong, and how we're presenting this process is wrong. We should have been listening and hanging on to every word of what both sides of this aisle had to say yesterday, and why they were saying it, and why they felt they were representing their constituency in the best interest. And then we got this draft budget from the JBC that we should be fine-tuning, and we rubber stamp it. And then we get up and give speeches today, and we say, if you want to get something passed, get to the JBC early and bow to them?
Representative Buckenfeld.
I asked for a no vote on this budget. We need to be responsible to the people.
Further discussion. Representative Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I certainly rise in opposition to this bill. I won't speak to the process, even though I myself have questions about how we budget in the state of Colorado, but I will speak to the substance. As I look at this bill, I can't help but think about the things that were not done. You know, Representative Larson, Representative Hanks, many others have come down here and have spoken about this document not adequately reflecting some of the priorities that our constituents care about. And I certainly echo those things, but I want to remind everyone here that this, in essence, is a moral document. The budget is a moral document where we are deciding what is most important to what is least important. And so when the minority came up here and discussed many budget amendments and ideas that we had, ranging from education to combating human sex trafficking, most of those amendments failed. And simply put, not only speaking as a member of the minority, as also someone trying to represent, his district, I in good conscience cannot vote for this budget, and I certainly encourage all of my colleagues in this chamber, but especially my colleagues in the minority, to vote no on this budget because it does not reflect nearly enough the will or the intent of the minority, and how we want to govern in this state. There are many things in this budget that should be at least considered by my caucus reprehensible, and therefore we should not vote on its face. So I would encourage everyone here, I absolutely vote no, but I certainly encourage my caucus to vote no. Thank you.
I just want to express my gratitude to the JBC members, to Director Campman and the analysts. You know, when we talk about what separates Colorado from other states, our bipartisan joint budget committee is the shining model of what's different. Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 205? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 205 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Jackson votes yes. Representative Michelson-Janae, how do you vote?
Enthusiastically, yes.
Representative Michelson-Janae votes yes. Representative McLaughlin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative McLaughlin votes yes. Please close the machine. With 41 aye votes, 23 no votes, and 1 excuse, Senate Bill 205 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Michelson-Janae, Jackson, McLaughlin, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. That brings us back to special order, second reading of bills. Representative Titone. You have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, Representative Titone will take the chair. All right, good job, team.
The committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there is a request for a bill to be read at length. Committee floor reports are printed in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen and on your iPads. Bills will be laid over upon a motion of the majority leader, and the coat rule is relaxed. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of Senate Bill 206. Senate Bill 206 by Senator Moreno, also Representative McCluskey, concerning the continuous appropriation of money in the Educator License or Cash Fund. Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Honored to serve with you.
It's an honor to serve with you, too. Thank you for your work.
Thank you. I move Senate Bill 206 on second reading.
All right, to the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 206 continues appropriations authority for our educator licensure cash fund in the Department of Education. As you might imagine, the fees in this fund ebb and flow. The continuous appropriation authority is important for our department so that they can meet demands in their Office of Professional Services, whether that's issuing licenses for teachers, renewing those, enforcement, disciplinary action, the review and approval of teacher prep programs. I ask for a yes on Senate Bill 206.
Any further discussion on Senate Bill 206? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 206. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, no. All right, the ayes have it. Senate Bill 206 is adopted. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of Senate Bill 207.
Senate Bill 207 by Senators Moreno and Rankin, also Representative Herod, concerning the transfer of $100 million from the marijuana tax cash fund to the public school capital construction assistance fund and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Representative Herod.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 207.
All right, to the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 207 transfers $100 million from the marijuana cash tax fund to the public school capital construction assistance fund. I ask for an aye vote.
Representative Ransom.
Thank you. Folks, I want to urge an aye vote on this bill, too. This is putting $100 million into the BEST fund. That is one that we've talked about. You've heard me talk about how important it is that marijuana taxes go to fund schools when possible. And this is a great bill. Thank you for sponsoring this, Rep. Herod, and I urge an aye vote.
Any further discussion on Senate Bill 207? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 207. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? No. All right, the ayes have it. Senate Bill 207 is adopted. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of Senate Bill 207.
Senate Bill 208 by Senator Moreno, also Representative Herod, concerning the transfer of $100 million from the general fund to the state education fund.
Representative Herod.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I think some of you all may be interested in this bill, especially those who talked about restoring funding and putting more funding into education in the long bill. Senate Bill 208 transfers $100 million from the general fund to the state education fund. I ask for an aye vote.
Representative Herod, could you move the bill?
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 208.
All right, any further discussion? Representative Ransom.
Thank you. And ditto to my comments last time. This is a great bill, folks. It's moving $100 million over to the state education fund. This is one of the also constitutional requirements that we have set out in the state constitution. It says that every child deserves the right to a free, appropriate public education. This bill helps get that in place, and I want to thank the sponsor for running it, and I urge an aye vote.
Any further discussion on Senate Bill 208? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 208. All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? No. Well, the ayes have it. Senate Bill 208 is adopted. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of Senate Bill 209.
Senate Bill 209 by Senator Rankin, also Representative McCluskey, concerning the transfer of the general fund to the balances from repealed cash funds.
Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 209 on second reading.
To the bill.
Thank you. We found some leftover cash funds in the budget from two programs that had been repealed years ago, one in the Colorado Energy Office and one in OEdit, and we are putting those dollars back into our general fund. I ask for an aye vote.
All right, Representative Ransom.
Thank you, and I urge an aye vote on this bill, too. I'm actually kind of surprised we didn't find these cash funds last year when we were searching for cash funds to be able to put back into the general fund to pay bills. But this is a pretty small amount, but these are cash funds that were just kind of there. The programs have been long repealed, but this way we can actually get the money out of a hiding place and get it back to where it can be used properly, and I urge an aye vote on this bill.
Any further discussion on Senate Bill 209? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 209. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? No. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 209 is adopted. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of Senate Bill 211.
Senate Bill 211 by Senator Moreno, also Representative Herod, concerning the removal of certain measures related to the reduction of the adult dental benefit enacted in House Bill 20-1361 and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Representative Herod.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 211.
All right, to the bill.
In 2020, House Bill 2013-661 limited the Medicaid adult benefit to $1,000 annually for the fiscal year of 2020 to 2021. House Bill 1361 also required the expected savings to be transferred to the unclaimed property trust fund in the general fund. However, the adult benefit cap was never implemented due to the public health emergency. This bill repeals the adult benefit cap and transfers over $1 million from the general fund to the unclaimed property tax fund. I ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion on Senate Bill 211? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 211. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 211 is adopted. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of Senate Bill 212.
Senate Bill 212 by Senator Moreno, also Representative McCluskey, concerning aligning primary care payments with the Colorado Medical Assistance Act to maximize federal funds in connection therewith, identifying anticipated federal funds.
Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 212 on second reading.
To the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, this is actually a pretty exciting bill. This bill will direct HCPF to apply for federal approval to realign payments in our primary care fund so that we can draw down a $25 million federal fund match. It will drive more dollars into our providers' pockets. The FQHCs and community care clinics across the state who are serving the uninsured and indigent folks in our state. I'm very excited about this restructuring, and I urge an aye vote.
Any further discussion on Senate Bill 212? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 212. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 212 is adopted. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of Senate Bill 213.
Senate Bill 213 by Senator Moreno, also Representative McCluskey, concerning the increased money received due to the Federal Families First Coronavirus Response Act and in connection therewith making and reducing appropriations.
Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 213 on second reading.
To the bill.
Thank you. Last year, members, the federal government increased their federal match to Medicaid from 50% to 56.2%. That started January 1st of 2020 and will last through the end of the public health emergency. Right now, we anticipate that will be December 31st of 2021. We have redesigned how we are using that 6.2% increase and making sure that we are paying down on general fund obligations. I ask for an aye vote of this continued use of the increased FMAP.
Any further discussion on Senate Bill 213? The question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 213. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. Well, the ayes still do have it. Senate Bill 213 is adopted. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of Senate Bill 214.
Senate Bill 214 by Senator Hansen, also Representative McCluskey, concerning state payments to licensed hospice facilities for residential care provided to certain persons enrolled in the medical assistance program in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 214 on second reading.
To the bill.
Members, unfortunately, during this very challenging time, public health guidance has limited the number of patients that our nursing home facilities can handle and serve. So individuals who have been put on hospice have not always been able to gain or have a bed in one of those facilities. Because they are receiving care in another residential setting, they are not eligible for funding from Medicaid. This bill will allow us to pay those hospice providers half of the per diem rate for up to 28 days for individuals in hospice. This is an incredibly important bill, and I ask for your support.
Representative Ransom.
Thank you. And folks, I too urge an aye vote on this bill. When we got the request from the department, they actually are expecting only about 10 patients that fall into this incredibly narrow category of the people on hospice that that don't have another place to stay. And I hope it breaks your heart as much as it broke mine to hear that some of these people are just being sent to a hotel. And who knows what kind of services they're able to get, they call room service or whatever, but they're just in a hotel because there isn't availability for them in a nursing home. So I urge an aye vote on Senate Bill 214, and I hope you'll join me in supporting these folks that are on hospice.
Members, please keep it a little bit down in the chamber. It's getting a little hard to hear up here. Representative Soper.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and it's an honor to serve with you.
It's an honor to serve with you, too.
I also rise in strong support and really want to thank you for running this bill. As I know the JBC is aware, but perhaps the entire chamber is not aware, a lot of this problem actually comes from Mesa County that we saw throughout the pandemic and with hospice. Hospice is really important, especially in rural Colorado. And when I heard about this issue, I raised it with our JBC members, and I said, we need to do something about it. And was certainly glad that they ran with the baton, and we have this bill before us today. So I'm an enthusiastic yes vote, and I can't thank you enough for bringing this bill.
Representative Rich.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I rise in support of this bill as well. I've had lots of conversations with our hospice director in Mesa County, and this is going to make a huge difference. So thank you for this, and I urge an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 214? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 214. All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? No. All right, the ayes have it. Senate Bill 214 is adopted. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of Senate Bill 215.
Senate Bill 215 by Senators Hansen and Rankin, also Representatives Harrod and McCluskey, concerning the use of open educational resources at public institutions of higher education in connection therewith, making an appropriation.
Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 215 on second reading.
All right, to the bill.
Thank you. You know, there is an exciting wave sweeping the country around open educational resources for our students struggling to meet the demands of tuition, materials, textbooks, and fees. Open educational resources provide free access to the information they need for their courses. We were so excited to see the savings for our students in this state. More than 30,000 students have benefited with more than 100 courses providing OER across many of our institutions, that we decided to make an investment this next year, $1 million in grant programming for our institutions to continue the good work, to get away from high-priced textbooks and other materials, and be able to provide the coursework for students in a free and accessible way. I urge an aye vote.
Representative Harrod.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to add one thing. It's not often that we hear from our constituents on bills that don't make the front headlines, but do have an impact on their lives. I recently received an email from a constituent telling me how helpful OERs have been for them as a student. They said it took away the financial burdens and made education easier and more accessible. OERs are extremely important in ensuring that all kids, especially those from low-income backgrounds or throughout the state, have access and the availability to excel in education. So I very much appreciate this bill. This bill is a step towards our goal of creating an equitable education system for all. I ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion on Senate Bill 215? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 215. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 215 is adopted. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of Senate Bill 216.
Senate Bill 216 by Senator Rankin, also Representative Harrod, concerning the Colorado Commission for Deaf, Hard of Hearing, and Deaf, Blind, and in connection therewith, providing auxiliary services in rural areas of the state for persons who are deaf, hard of hearing, or deaf, blind, and removing the requirement that a not-for-profit entity must be a community-based organization to be eligible to apply to the Commission for grant money.
Representative Harrod.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 216.
All right, to the bill.
Thank you. This bill provides rural auxiliary services, formerly called the Rural Interpreting Service Project, which was a pilot program. It codifies that program in rural Colorado. I ask for an aye vote.
Representative Ransom.
And thank you. And folks, I strongly encourage an aye vote on this bill as well. We had folks come in last year it's called the RISP program, RISP, and they were calling themselves part of the RISP program. And they were there listening to us, and they had an interpreter, and they were going through with all the sign language, and it was just fascinating to see that. I've always wished that I could do American Sign Language, and I was very glad that they showed us an example of how this works. The training doesn't exist as much as it should. They don't have the depth throughout the rural parts of Colorado, which is why this is why the R stands for rural. So this is a great program, and I strongly encourage an aye vote on this bill.
Representative Van Beber.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise in support of this bill as the foster mother of a young man who came to me at the age of 16 years old. I had an opportunity to make a decision when we met. Is this a surly, angry young man, hateful about life, not trusting anybody? Or do I use my educational expertise to recognize immediately he can't hear people? And how long has he not heard people? We come here every day, and I always think about in this chamber how much we take for granted. And of the five senses, vision and hearing are so essential to our success. This young man made it from kindergarten through 8th grade with moderate to profound hearing loss. And I had the pleasure of sitting down with him at the age of 15 in an audiology office and have him receive the gift of hearing. You will never see more gratitude in a human being's face than when their life changes in an instant, miraculously, so that they can hear the voice of the people they love, so that they see life is more than they thought it could be. If there's a bill that you're going to say yes to today, please say yes to this, because you can hear. Let's help other people who cannot hear have that gift too. I rise in support of this bill. Thank you.
Any further discussion on Senate Bill 216? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 216. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 216 is adopted. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of Senate Bill 217.
Senate Bill 217 by Senators Hansen and Rankin, also Representatives Harrod and McCluskey, concerning adjusting the contract for a market rate study of provider rates for the Colorado Child Care Assistance Program from annually to every 3 years, and in connection therewith reducing an appropriation.
Representative Harrod.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 217.
All right, to the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This current law requires the Department of Human Services to contract annually for the market rate study for the Colorado Child Care Assistance Program. This moves that requirement and reporting to every 3 years. I ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion? No? Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just add this puts us in line with federal guidance and saves the state $55,000. I urge an aye vote.
All right, any further discussion on Senate Bill 217? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 217. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 217 is adopted. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of Senate Bill 218.
Senate Bill 218 by Senators Hansen and Rankin, also Representative McCluskey, concerning revenue allocated to the Employment and Training Technology Fund and the Division of Unemployment Insurance in the Department of Labor and Employment.
Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 218 on second reading.
All right, to the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a great bill that changes how the Employment and Training Technology Fund both, wow, my brain is on slow at the moment. How we put funds into that account, that fund, and also how it accrues and accumulates. So currently, we have a cap, $10 million that can go into this fund. It is an assessment that we charge on employer unemployment insurance premiums. Those dollars collect up to $10 million, and then the funds up to $100 million cumulatively total over many years. We're changing that so that we can access this funding sooner. We're raising the cap to $31 million overall, and these dollars go to improve our CAT system and other technology projects in CDLE, a department that clearly needs help with technology during the pandemic and the challenges they have faced with unemployment insurance claims. I ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion on Senate Bill 218? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 218. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 218 is adopted. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of Senate Bill 219.
Senate Bill 219 by Senator Rankin, also Representative McCluskey, concerning the manner in which money is appropriated from the Colorado Avalanche Information Center Fund.
Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move 219 on second reading.
All right, to the bill.
This bill does a small thing. It will allow continuous appropriations from the State Highway Fund to the Department of Natural Resources for our Colorado Avalanche Information Center. I urge an aye vote.
Representative Ransom.
And thank you to my to the chair, the vice chair of the JBC for running this bill. This is a great bill, folks. Normally, you will not see me come up and say we should be continually appropriating funds. However, this bill truly is an exception to that. We don't know when avalanches will hit. We can't predict how many there will be in any given year. And to allow this fund to be continuously appropriated means that they can actually address the avalanches and address the needs when they happen. So I urge an aye vote.
Any further discussion on Senate Bill 219? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 219. All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed, no. All right, the ayes have it. Senate Bill 219 is adopted. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of Senate Bill 220.
Senate Bill 220 by Senators Hansen and Rankin, also Representative Harrod, concerning the stabilization of revenue in the Severance Tax Operational Fund by returning money that was transferred to the Natural Resources and Energy Grant programs.
Representative Harrod.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 220.
All right, to the bill.
Thank you. This bill moves funding over, sorry, catch up on my notes. Based on recent forecasts, there will be insufficient revenue in the operational fund for core program departments. So this bill does transfer 5 transfers in the following amounts as specified in the bill to meet those requirements. I ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion? Representative Ransom.
Thank you. I urge an aye vote as well.
All right, any further discussion on Senate Bill 220? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 220. All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? No. All right, I guess the ayes have it. Senate Bill 220 is adopted. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of Senate Bill 221.
Senate Bill 221 by Senators Hansen and Rankin, also Representative McCluskey, concerning projects under the Forest Restoration and Wildlife Risk Mitigation Grant Program.
Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 221 on second reading.
To the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, 221 addresses our furworm grant program, our wildfire mitigation grant program. It removes the cap of $1 million per project because, frankly, many of these mitigation projects can and will cost much more. And it also makes some changes in the evaluation criteria for those who are applying for grants. I want to move L001 to Senate Bill 221 and ask that it be properly displayed.
All right. Amendment L001 is moved and properly displayed. Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Currently, the bill does give preference to those communities that are prioritizing wildfire mitigation through building codes and hazardous fuel reduction and land use regulations. The Joint Budget Committee is pleased to see that addition to the grant program. But we received strong feedback from some of our rural communities about the need to be considerate of some of the challenges that they face. This amendment will add language to the bill so that we do take into account geographic differences and needs for mitigation in the state. I ask for an aye vote on L001.
Representative Ransom.
Thank you. And with this amendment, folks, this actually addresses some of the needs as the sponsor just mentioned. This is a very important amendment, and I urge an aye vote.
All right, any further discussion on Amendment L001? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L001. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, no. All right, Amendment L001 is adopted. Back to the bill. Any further discussion on the bill? Representative Ransom.
Thank you. And folks, yes, please vote yes on this bill as well. One thing I wanted to point out, this is a booklet that was left on your desk several weeks ago to support funding for the furworm program. For those of you that have been aware of well, we've all been aware of the wildfires, but those of you that were directly impacted or folks in your districts were directly impacted, you would know just how important it is to do this mitigation. And this is an important bill. Thank you for bringing it, and I urge an aye vote.
All right, any further discussion on Senate Bill 221? The question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 221. All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed, no. Well, the ayes have it. Senate Bill 221 is adopted. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of Senate Bill 222.
Senate Bill 222 by Senator Rankin, also Representative Ransom, concerning the repeal of the state recovery audit program and in connection therewith reducing an appropriation.
Representative Ransom.
Thank you. I move Senate Bill 222.
All right, to the bill.
Thank you. And this bill is repealing a program, and you know that that's one of the things that I love to do. I like seeing it. Those are the kind of bills I like to run that repeal something. This actually repeals a recovery audit program. Those of you that know me know that I don't really want to repeal audits. I think that we should continue oversight when we can. However, this is not the way this audit is working is not the way that our state auditor actually goes in and audits. This is a different type of program where they were just doing some audits that really weren't functional. And by the way, it was being done by outside vendors, none of whom are bidding on the ability to conduct these audits because they weren't making any money because there wasn't anything to recover, or wasn't enough to recover to make it worth their while. So with that, I urge I vote on Senate Bill 222.
Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I too urge an aye vote, and I want to thank Representative Ransom. There were some concerns in the Senate about this bill being a reduction in our focus on accountability, and she dug in and has done a great job better explaining to all of us how this bill will work and what it will bring to the state. So thank you, Representative Ransom.
All right, any further discussion on Senate Bill 222? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 222. All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? No. All right, the ayes have it. Senate Bill 222 is adopted. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of Senate Bill 223.
Senate Bill 223 by Senator Hansen, also Representative Ransom, concerning the location of a Department of Revenue administrative hearing.
Representative Ransom.
Thank you. I move Senate Bill 223.
To the bill.
Thank you. This bill actually loosens up the requirements of the Department of Revenue when they do administrative hearings. Currently, they had to be held within the city and county of Denver. This bill just allows them to be held in other counties, as you can see the list on the bill. And the counties that they can be held in are still in the metro area, but it also specifies that they can be done virtually at the request of the person that is going to, or at the administrative hearing. So with that, I urge an aye vote.
Any further discussion on Senate Bill 223? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 223. All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? No. All right, the ayes have it. Senate Bill 223 is adopted. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title of Senate Bill 228.
Senate Bill 228 by Senators Hansen and Moreno, also Representatives McCluskey and Ransom, concerning the creation of the Parapayment Cash Fund to be used for future payments to the Public Employees Retirement Association in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Representative Ransom.
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you. I move Senate Bill 228.
All right, to the bill. Representative Ransom.
This bill, thank you. This bill establishes a new cash fund. Those of you that were here last year remember the drastic cuts we were forced to make. One of the items that we did not do last year that I think caused a lot of heartache with a lot of people in the state of Colorado was that we were unable to pay the $225 million that we pay every year to para, to keep para going. And we wanted actually to kind of pay back last year. And because of some technical issues, we couldn't pay back what we didn't pay last year. But we've established this new fund, so we are putting $380 million into the fund to make sure that para obligations will be paid next year. And this, so we're kind of prepaying it for this year.
Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is one of, I think, the smartest and most creative ways that we are using that excess revenue we realized from FY20 and the good progress we've made this year to ensure that we are able to meet our future obligations. This prepay on para sets us up for success over fiscal year 23 and 24, and certainly it will help maintain, if not improve, the credit rating that Colorado has as a state. I urge an aye vote.
All right, any further discussion on Senate Bill 228? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Senate Bill 228. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, no. All right, well, the ayes have it. Senate Bill 228 is adopted. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the committee rise and report, but members don't get too excited. As soon as we rise and report on special orders, we're going to jump into some second readings.
All right, you have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, the committee will rise and report.
House will come back to order. Mr. Gregorio, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee of the Whole begs leave to report it is under consideration of the following touch bills, being second reading thereof, makes the following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 206, 207, 208, 209, 211, 212, 213, 214, 215, 216, 217, 218, 219, 220, 221, and as amended, 222, 223, 228, passed on second reading in order revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Representative Tatone. Oh, we'll just wait one quick second. Representative Tatone. You have heard the motion. There are no amendments at the desk. The question before us is the adoption of the report of the Committee of the Whole. Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Jackson, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative
Yes.
Jackson votes. Representative Jackson votes yes. Representative Michelson Janae, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Michelson-Janae votes yes. Representative McLaughlin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative McLaughlin votes yes. Representative Froelich, Representative Mollica. Representative Froelich is excused. Please close the machine. With 40 aye votes, 23 no votes, and 2 excused, the report of the committee of the whole is adopted. Okay, I think the next order of business, I believe, is general order second reading of bills. Representative A. Valdez. I think that was a proper motion. Seeing no objection, Representative A. Valdez will take the chair.
Don't be sorry. We haven't even started.
So I just got this. Water Congress supports it. I'll mention that.
I'll do the committee report.
Okay.
The committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there is a request to read the bill at length. Committee reports are printed in your bill folders and are available on your iPods. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen and on your iPads, and bills will be laid over upon a motion of the majority leader and the coat rule is relaxed. All right, Mr. Gregorio, please read the title to House Bill 1226.
House Bill 1226 by Representatives Escar and Will, also Senators Corum and Donovan, concerning additional measures to control aquatic nuisance species and in connection therewith prohibiting a person from refusing to stop at a check station and directing the Division of Parks and Wildlife to report to the General Assembly regarding implementation of the act.
Madam Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1226 and the Agriculture, Livestock, and Water Committee report.
To the committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In Ag Committee, we actually realized that there was an unintended consequence drafted in the original bill language. And with the work and the help of our committee members, we actually made this amendment in committee to be sure that we had no unintended consequences or developed a new crime. So we appreciate the work of the Ag Committee and making sure that we made this bill exactly as we intended and ask for an aye vote.
All right, any further discussion? Representative Will.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
And an honor to serve with you.
This is a great bill, keeping aquatic nuisance species out of our waters. You know, CPW has been doing a great job with this in the past and had the authority to do that when you're entering waters, you know, say at the boat ramp or taking them out. This bill extends that. It also creates a check station portion on 2 locations so we can intersect those boats that might have aquatic nuisance species before they enter our waters. We talk so much here about water, you know, reservoirs and storage and all that, everything about Colorado and our water needs. You can have a full reservoir. If you get aquatic nuisance species, you may not be able to use the infrastructure you have to even release water. So this is critical for Colorado. We've done a great job for like 13, 14 years keeping these aquatic nuisance species out of Colorado. We need to continue to do that. This bill strengthens that and gives additional authority to strengthen those. So I would ask for an aye vote. It's a great bill.
Any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Committee report is adopted. Further discussion on the bill, Representative Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My co-sponsor here said it all about this bill. In 2018, I was able to run a bill with Representative Arndt, Senator Donovan, Senator Quorum on the Mussels Free Colorado Act to really strengthen the ANS program through the creation of the Aquatic Nuisance Species Stamp, which funds nearly 100 watercraft inspections across the state. These bills and the ANS program in Colorado have kept our waters safe for over the past 13 years. This is important, folks. Not only is it keeping our waters safe, but the cost to try to decontaminate any of these waters if they ever were to be infested would be astronomical. This piece of legislation in front of you today actually allows Colorado Parks and Wildlife to examine new techniques for watercraft inspection to potentially add even more weapons in our arsenal to fight aquatic nuisance species and keep them out of our waters. It's a great bill. It's a good idea. We ask for a yes vote.
Representative Will.
Please just pay attention to what I said on the committee report. It's a good bill. I do want to mention that Colorado Water Congress supports this bill. So,
there you go.
All right, thank you.
That's
all right.
Vote yes.
Representative McKean.
Oh, excuse me.
No, it's okay. Take all the time in the world. So I bring people back. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I bring people back to Senator Hansen. I think he just suggested that I could never hold a job, but I happen to be a currently non-certified but a certified vessel examiner for the United States Coast Guard. And believe it or not, they do a lot of this work, and this is really important because right now we have little pockets where we know we've had quagga mussels or zebra mussels. And the more we do, not only to elevate the awareness of this, but to make sure that we keep this out of our intakes, everything else, anything we can do. Even this is good to do. And if the Colorado Water Congress is behind it, boom.
All right. Any further discussion on House Bill 1226? Representative Catlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
It's an honor to serve with you.
Thank you. Members, this sounds like it's not too big a deal. It sounds like, oh, don't fret about it. We're going to be okay. But these critters that get in our water could literally change Colorado as you know it. They're an invasive species that we don't have any predators for. And once they get into a water body, they now strip the life out of it, and they also grow so fast that they can open and or shut all of the valving in a dam and reservoir. So imagine having your valves grown shut at flood season and you're already full. Now what do we do? So this is an opportunity for the state of Colorado to try to do something that we have not done yet. We've done a great job of keeping them out of our waterways only because of the dedication and the people that are doing the work at water's edge before you put your boat in the water. What we're talking about here is giving us a couple of opportunities at the state line on the west side of Colorado and on the southwest side. We know that the majority of these boats come from Lake Powell. And Lake Powell is completely infested with these invaders. They get into the boats, they get into the boat, they get into the engine, they get around any nook and cranny. And if they get in our water, we'll be in the same shape. We're the only state that doesn't have them right now because we've done a great job. This will give us an opportunity further away from water's edge to get an opportunity to see, would this help? as something we can institute from then on. So we're taking a look to see if this works. It was a good idea on these sponsors' part, and I thank you. Both of them. Doesn't sound like much, but this is a big deal. This might be what helps us stay mussel and zebra free. Right here, right now. So it's a good bill. Vote yes. Thank you.
All right. Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1226? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1226. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. 1226 is passed. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title to House Bill 1242.
House Bill 1242 by Representative Arndt, also Senator Donovan, concerning the creation of an agricultural drought and climate resilience office in the Department of Revenue.
Representative Arndt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1242 and the committee report.
All right, to the committee report.
The committee report, we amended the bill just to make sure that the agriculture producers in the state were going to be able to get the help that they need out of the new office that we're creating through this bill, and I urge a yes vote.
Any further discussion on the ag report? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of the ag report. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee report is passed. To the bill, Representative Arndt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill creates the Agriculture Drought and Climate Resiliency Office within the Colorado Department of Agriculture. And you know what we need to do? We're defining this as an office, not a whole division, just an office, so that we can better coordinate our response to climate change and drought mitigation. And I urge a yes vote.
Any further discussion on House Bill 1242? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1242. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. 1242 is passed. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title to House Bill 1241.
House Bill 1241 by Representatives Doherty and Lynch, also Senators Rodriguez and Priola, concerning modifications to the Employee Ownership Loan Program.
All right, Representative Lynch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move House Bill 1241.
All right, to the bill. Representative Doherty.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill extends the Employee Ownership Revolving Loan Fund in the Office of Economic Development through July 1st, 2025, which is scheduled to repeal July 1st, 2022, and allows OEDIT to modify the program's eligibility criteria and loan requirements. It's also a Doherty Lynch vote, or Doherty Lynch bill. Great success rate. We ask for a yes vote.
All right, Representative Lynch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So really what this bill does, there's no fiscal note attached because the money's already been set aside. Basically, when they designed this program, they made criteria that was too strict that nobody could actually qualify for it. So the money's already been set aside. It may get more money when we get some federal funds, and it allows businesses in our state to become employee-owned. It's a great bill. Vote yes.
All right, further discussion on 1241. Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1241. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. Well, the ayes definitely have it. 1241 is passed. Mr. Gregorio, please read the Madam Majority Leader, Esgar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Chair, sorry. I'm looking for bill sponsors.
Bill sponsors, anybody?
I see one. Okay, I move to lay over House Bill 1217, one bill. If the other bill sponsors, Rep. McLaughlin, I'm not sure if she's on and can hear me. Great. Rep. McLaughlin, Rep. Carter, great. We'll lay over House Bill 1217, one bill.
All right, seeing no objection, 1217 will be laid over one bill. Mr. Gregorio, please read the title to Senate Bill 67.
Senate Bill 67 by Senators Quorum and Hansen, also Representatives McLaughlin and Carver, concerning measures to strengthen civics education in Colorado.
Representative Carver.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 67 and the committee report.
To the committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the committee report, we made some minor adjustments to the legislative declaration. There had been a section of the bill that had been deleted out on the Senate side, but the legislative declaration still referenced that now deleted section, and that's what the cleanup was. Ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of the committee report to Senate Bill 67. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The Education Committee report is passed. To the bill, Representative McLaughlin.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, this bill looks at the teaching of civics in Colorado. Civics is already required to teach, but we've kind of learned, and I think a lot of us have learned through the emails we've gotten, that nobody really understands what's going on in politics anymore. So this is just to ask the Department of Education to take a close look, review the bill, review the standards for civics teaching, and see if we can get people to be more civically minded, to participate, to understand the Constitution, to really kind of go forward and really participate in politics and civics, and so that they are becoming well-informed citizens of Colorado.
Further discussion on Senate Bill 67. Representative Carver.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We see headline after headline on how little our fellow citizens understand our system of self-government. A lack of knowledge about what the federal, national organs do, Congress and the President, versus what is the purview of the states. We have a lack of understanding of three branches of government, each branch so critical in our history in moving forward, our judicial branch, legislative, and executive branch. What is done at the local level in Colorado, in our Colorado Constitution, the amount of authority that is retained by home rule cities and some of our home rule counties. When you have a system of self-government, the great experiment, right? The great experiment. It is so important that our fellow citizens have some foundational knowledge of our U.S. Constitution, our Bill of Rights, how our governmental system is structured, and how to interact with us as their elected representatives. And so the real importance of this bill is on pages 5 and 6, where we talk about how the state standards for social studies, specifically civics, need to cover this foundational knowledge. And that is spelled out on pages 5 and 6. And so while current law does require that this be taught, I will tell you with all due respect, I was dismayed at the revision that last occurred in state standards, where they lessened, reduced the knowledge that needed to be taught in these basic documents of government. So I believe this is so crucial, so central to an informed citizenry engaging with their government and their elected representatives, that I was thrilled to join on this bill with Rep. McLaughlin, and really cannot, must reference my former colleague, State Representative Lois Court, who then moved over to the Senate. Senator Court and I served together on House Judiciary, And she also was devoted to and taught classes on government and really had a passion for this area. And we understood and shared that commitment. And so when she became involved in getting this bill drafted as a Senate bill, I knew the approach and the commitment and was thrilled to be part of that effort. And with that, Mr. Chair, I do have a couple of friendly amendments that have been brought to my attention. And so I would move L007 and ask that it be displayed.
All right, L007 has been moved. Stand by while we get that displayed. All right, please proceed, Representative Carver.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And the very able Representative Baisley brought to my attention some slight modification in the legislative declaration, which I shared with my co-primes on the House and the Senate. And we regard this as a friendly amendment and ask for an aye vote.
All right, folks, any further discussion on L007? Seeing none, the question, Representative Geithner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
And I just wanted to thank the sponsors for bringing forward the amendment. It's a good amendment. I support the amendment, and I just wanted to make sure that I shared that with the sponsors. So thank you so much.
All right, further discussion on L007? Seeing none, the question. Oh, hi, Representative McLaughlin, I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. I'm just sitting here on the wall. I also agree this is a friendly amendment. Please vote yes. Thanks.
All right, great. Any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L007. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. L007 is adopted. Representative Carver.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm all for Amendment L009 and ask that it be displayed.
All right, L009 has been moved. Stand by while we get that displayed. Representative Carver.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the spirit of the Colorado Constitution and the wonderful amendments that our citizenry added in the early 1900s on petition clause, I did want, and again, after conferring with the co-primes, we wanted, the reason the safety clause was put on the introduced version is that the State Board of Education is scheduled in the upcoming fiscal year to do their 6-year review and revision of the social studies standards, which includes the civics component. And there was concern that we get this bill signed into law before that revision process kicked off. However, I conferred with the representative of the Colorado Department of Education and the State Board of Education, and petition clause will work just fine with that timeline. And so for that, ask for an aye vote on the amendment, Mr. Chair.
All right, Representative McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, this is also a friendly amendment, and I encourage you to vote yes. Thank you.
Further discussion on Amendment L009. Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L009. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. L009 is adopted. To the bill, Representative Carver.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I won't, just a few additional remarks. You know, we have the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and how our judicial branch takes part in the ongoing debate of generations of Americans in dealing with the issues of the day, the issues of their generation, and addressing those issues within our Constitution. And certainly that includes where our citizens, through their elected representatives in the Congress and the state legislatures, decide that we need to amend our U.S. Constitution, which we have done several times in our history, including the most important, in my view, the 3 amendments added to the Constitution post-Civil War, which then really, I think, revolutionized how the Bill of Rights were applied, implemented, made real over time for all citizens from those 3 post-Civil War amendments, but certainly other amendments as well. And so the enduring significance over time of our constitutional principles, our Bill of Rights, is something that I think for many of us in this body is so important, so significant, which is why we're so concerned when we see fellow citizens that seem to have no knowledge or understanding of those principles. And it is really the enduring significance of those principles in vigorous discussion and debate. You know, when we have groups that gather with great enthusiasm on various issues and we hear them outside this building, I may or may not be in agreement with what they're protesting for or against, but to me, it is the sound of the First Amendment, which is a glorious sound, the sound of freedom of assembly and freedom of speech, and being involved in the process. And so, with that, Mr. Chair, I would ask for an aye vote.
All right, any further discussion? Representative McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Carver. In the Senate, in their wisdom, they named this bill the Senator Lois Court Civics Act of 2021 in her honor, and we are thrilled to do this in her honor. She was able to testify in our committee hearing. I think this is one of those bills that is nonpartisan. I think we all, especially in our positions that we hold here, we are all very concerned about understanding what's going on, understanding the Constitution, understanding our civic duty. And so I encourage a yes vote on this bill. I think it's really good for the next generation to be taught this throughout the years of their school, not just one class, 1 year. But to really encourage our students to understand what's going on civically in America. So please vote yes. Thanks.
All right, further discussion on Senate Bill 67. Representative Holtorf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
Honor to serve with you.
Esteemed colleagues, I'm greatly in support of this Senate bill, strengthening civics education. It is probably more important now than ever. We have gone through at least 10, 11 months of a very interesting time in the history of this country. There have been anarchist movements that have blown across this country and even hit our state capitol. There have been cancel culture movements that want to cancel our history, and it doesn't matter if it's the good, the bad, or the ugly. They want to wash it all away and start over with a new history. We have even seen it here in our state capitol. As a Union soldier dedicated to all the Union soldiers from Colorado that fought in the Civil War to help abolish and end slavery no longer stands proudly on the West Steps. That is civics. That is civics. People need to learn these things, including the Bill of Rights, our Constitution, our Founding Fathers. And it doesn't matter whether you agree with it or not. It is history, and all history must be considered. And it should not be canceled. So I'm a very proud supporter of this bill, and I'm glad that it has been brought forth. Now, most of you do not know this, but my father, my Spanish father, was a naturalized citizen. He became an American citizen, and he was so proud of that effort in his life that he hung his naturalization certificate in his bedroom on his wall as if it was a PhD or a medical certificate or a law degree. It was his proudest accomplishment in his life. Now, what did he have to do to become a citizen? Well, he didn't come here illegally. He didn't come here undocumented. He took great steps, and he learned about civics. He learned about the importance of civics education, and I will tell you, the effort that he made to become a U.S. citizen living in Spain, not only did he have to fly to the United States, spend many months in New York City, attending the classes on the government's program at his expense, and then ultimately taking the test to pass after the requisite time after he had married an American woman. He learned about United States civics. He took a test. It's called the naturalization test. I would probably be shocked if 50% of our high school students could pass that naturalization test.
Representative Holtorf, if I may bring you back
And
to
this right here, Mr. Chairman, may be the solution so our citizens, our youth, the young people that are out in this country right now can better understand the foundations of this country, can better understand what makes this country, can better understand that we are a republic and what the definition of a republic is, can better understand their history and appreciate all of it. Whether you agree with it or not, you can appreciate it, the legacy and the gift that has been given to us by our forefathers. And I know that my father appreciated that more than ever. He was shocked later in his life when he would look and see how the little understanding there was in what makes this country. And he was befuddled, living abroad, seeing the things that would come to this country. This bill that we're talking about strengthens civics education, lets young people learn about our government system, what the Founding Fathers intended for this country, and may help, may be the thing that takes our youth to a better place in understanding why they should stand up and support and defend the Constitution of the United States, not try to burn it and tear it down. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Van Beber.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill right here is why every single one of us is sitting in this chamber. If there's any reason that I got up in the morning for the last 17 years, it's this bill right here. When people ask us at the various places we go as legislators, why did you run for office? It's this bill right here. It's this bill and the concepts contained within that brought me to this point. When I was a child, my first experience into who makes the rules, who enforces those rules, what is justice, what is tyranny, what does it mean to live in peace, came from my father, a brilliant man who would tell me stories about World War II, 1944 and 1945. My father was a first-generation Swedish American. His parents were immigrants. And when the Japanese were interred in camps just down the road from where I grew up, my father would tell me about the stories where he and his father would take candy and their trumpet, and they would go in the evenings and pass out candy. And this is a poor dirt farmer who figured out very early on, as he escaped tyranny from Europe, how to still give back to others when he had almost nothing. They knew what it meant to serve others. They knew what it meant to run from tyranny. They knew what it meant that the three branches of government in a nation where the religious persecuted are put in jail, fenced in. They knew what it meant to question everything. This bill is why I got up every day for the last 17 years, Monday through Friday, to ensure that students knew from the minute they got up in the morning to the minute they went to bed, these are the things that they must take into consideration. Can you defend what we've built here? Can you tell others the importance of this? Do you know why we have it? Embedded in all of this concept is history, is humanity, is the greatest nation on earth. We must, and we have, and we will continue because of this bill, to teach our children how to defend these concepts. We must show them what it means to be a part of a process. And the responsibility needs to be laid on their shoulders like a mantle to carry that torch on to the next generation. It is our responsibility with whomever we meet to ensure that they too can talk about these things. Everywhere we go, you've seen the videos. The man on the street can't tell you the capital of their own state. The man on the street can't tell you when the War of 1812 was fought. There are so many needs and concerns. You laugh, but it really is sad. We've probably all seen it. We must educate this first, after our babies learn to read and write. Because it's from all else that springs forth in a school curriculum, this is the foundation. So while this is a bit of pontificating, I'm sure you can hear my heart. Please do your part to ensure that everything embedded in this document in the state of Colorado continues to allow us to do what we hear today, that allows our children to follow in our footsteps. Thank you to the people who brought this bill forward. Thank you to the people who have spoken to it. Thank all of you for being here today to ensure it goes on and on and on.
Representative Baisley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I love that this is a bipartisan bill. So as we keep looking for those commonalities, those places where we begin together, the oath that we take, and looking for how we can work together, this is it. This is our e pluribus unum. These are the founding principles that we need to continue teaching and carry on. What's embedded in our head and heart in that Declaration of Independence, and then reflected in the Constitution. I so appreciate Representative McLaughlin for your bringing this bill. Thank you. And I so appreciate Representative Carver, not only for your bringing this bill, but for your service in the United States Air Force in defending the principles in this bill as well. So let's all have an enthusiastic, unanimous yes on this and both readings of this bill. Thank you.
Representative Bacon.
Thank you. I also want to say that I'm short. Sorry. I wanted to come up here to also talk about the power of civics, but also to, I was looking up here, I'm like, we should probably hear from, different parties in the nature of why this is important to bipartisanship, but also to all of those who are aspiring and are part of our fabric of this country. And the reason why civics is actually very important, I think what it does help us do is actually get to a place where we can build understanding of each other as rooted in ideals that are very American. And, I heard some of my colleagues speaking a moment ago, and I wanted to come up here to kind of put some things into context as well, particularly as we talk about civics and history. We talk about the root of the Constitution, we talk about the values and ideals in them, but I have to say, as someone who is recognized as 3/5, we do need to understand each other when we talk about these things. I would say that the founding of this country was rooted in protest. The Boston Tea Party wasn't neat. Maybe they went to capitals and yelled at King George. And the things that we see in our communities happening, we can do two things about it. One, we can help our communities and our students understand the structures of this country, the rules and policies, so we can know how to engage to maybe not have to do something in seeking out attention, or we can respect it, because what is also deeply rooted in this Constitution are the freedoms of speech, are the freedoms of assembly. And just because we talk about it doesn't mean that we want to cancel someone else. At the end of the day, we have to understand how rules and policies affected everyone, whether I can be considered a full, whole person, as a woman be allowed to vote, as a black woman be allowed to vote without paying. But just because we acknowledge that, which are either the not only original sins of this country, but the original hopes and beacons that we have put on across the world, part of this problem that we have is because we don't understand those fundamental values, and we put them in boxes to where only some people can lean into them or not. And so, in the bipartisan spirit of this, I so wish I was on the education committee, so God bless y'all, right? But we need to talk about this together, that there's something to be said about the literacy of power in this country and all the steps that were taken to keep people from it. And so introducing civics is a way to restore that, so that we can have the conversations about what it means to be American without being indicted because you are doing the things that are fundamentally American, like protesting. Because without it, I literally would not be able to stand here today. It took all of our lives to fight. And so I hope that we can recognize that in each other. I am willing. I ask you to do the same. Thank you.
Representative
Vote in support.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I so appreciate the remarks of Representative Bacon. That is absolutely part of what needs to be taught in the fullness of teaching these foundational documents and key Supreme Court decisions, Colorado Supreme Court decisions. What, in fact, are the most critical Supreme Court decisions in our history? Exactly what Representative Bacon has discussed. And so, as we think about our history and how those issues have been addressed in our over 200 years of history, amending our Constitution, sometimes following extraordinarily painful but necessary experiences like our Civil War, and addressing in our Constitution fundamental principles to ensure that the pledge of this country is made real for every citizen. That is the core of our principles, and it is a process. So that is a key part of civics, but also the duty and responsibility of citizenship as part of the people in either running for office or being involved with your elected representative to do what? Determine the laws by which we are all governed, which even in the modern age, many other countries struggle to do. And even within the messiness of our process, we struggle to move forward. But it is to prepare our citizens coming up in every generation to be able to exercise and fulfill that responsibility in speaking to the issues that they passionately believe in and that they want addressed. And so I welcome the comments that have been made. Strong civics education is not partisan. It is simply giving the knowledge that we need to our fellow citizens, hopefully in generations going forward, to take their part in the great experiment, and hopefully moving towards a fuller realization of our principles for every citizen.
Representative Sandrich.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just going to throw a different view on this, and this actually has nothing to do with the topic. We all love the topic. It's a great topic. It's a topic everybody can get around. It's a great thing. This thing's going to pass. But I want to offer a word of caution about mandates from the state. And mandates of the state that cover every single county and every single corner of this state. People think differently in this state. Schools in Boulder may think a little bit different than schools in El Paso County. A mandate from the state, a great topic today that we can all get around, may not be a great topic tomorrow. So let's just be cautious about pushing away local control and having mandates that cover each county. Great topic. I get concerned about the slippery slope of the state coming in and telling our local school boards, local schools how to teach. Just a word of caution. Thank you.
Representative Lynch.
Lynch or Hanks?
Hanks, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Being called Mr. Lynch might be a good thing for what I'm about to say. No, just kidding. This is a good conversation, another one of those that it's been interesting to listen to both sides of the aisle, and I will support this. I was grateful to hear the amendments that were added. Civics is hugely important, and I think from the time I finished high school to today, I'm not sure it's as thoroughly taught as it used to be, and I think it needs a revision. I think what I tell people consistently in my district as we talk government is we have the best system of government in the world, bar none. The public's task is to man it, to vote in the people that are the most representative. And I wonder sometimes if we're if we're up to the task or have fulfilled our obligations on that. What I did want to say, though, and I don't think this is contentious, but going back to the founding and going back to the 3/5, I heard the comments, and I appreciate them and I respect them. But the 3/5 compromise, of course, was an effort by non-slave states to try to reduce the amount of representation that the slave states had. It was not impugning anybody's humanity. It was an effort to, well, it's important to say we had this conversation on one side. Let's talk about it on the other. Is this really racist to be talking about what the 3/5 compromise was? I don't think so. And I think it's important. It's a part of the civics lesson here. It was brought up, and it merits discussion. That was an effort by the North to try to keep the South from having too much representation and push slavery beyond. And ultimately, it worked out. Took a war to do it. Took 600,000 American lives. Took a lot of treasure. That's the kind of thing that ought to be taught. We can talk it, I guess, maybe this is a contentious issue. It seems like I didn't think it was when I came up and said it, but the hisses have proven me wrong. It's something we ought to be talking about in civics education on a bill like this, or with a initiative like this. So I'll support it, and let's have that conversation. Thank you.
All right. Seeing no further discussion, the question before the House is the passage of Senate Bill 67. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Bill's passed. Mr. Gregorio, let's read the title of House Bill 1217.
House Bill 1217 by Representatives Bockenfeld and Bacon, also Senators Fields and Lundin, concerning active duty military family enrollment in public schools.
Representative Bockenfeld.
Chairman A. Valdez, it's always an honor to serve with you.
It's an honor to serve with you.
I'd like to move the House Education Committee report on House Bill 1217.
All right, to the committee report. Go ahead and move the bill as well, Representative Bockenfeld, if you would.
Okay. I'd like to go ahead and move the bill at this time.
All right, thank you. To the committee report.
Go ahead. I'll do this.
Members, this bill, well, first of all, I'd like to thank my colleague for the contributions that she made to the bill. Definitely improved the bill, and thank you, Representative Bacon, for that. This bill, I'm going to call a grassroots bill that was developed by the military community. As many of you may remember, Colorado was in consideration for the Space Force on a national level, and the Pentagon did an evaluation on Colorado, and one of the areas that was shown to be an area that needed improvement was military children education. And the purpose of this bill is to take the first step towards making improvements here in Colorado towards that goal. And that first step is going to improve our rating on the bill. And here's what the bill does. The bill allows when inbound military members receive orders or a command letter to be transferred into Colorado, that they can use the school liaison's address to establish residency in order to participate in our open enrollment process and get their children in choice schools. Now, there was a second component to the bill, and I'm going to step back and I'm going to let my colleague address that component.
Representative Bockenfeld, sorry to interrupt. We're on the committee report right now. I don't know if you just wanted to speak to what was done in committee.
Okay, yes, I'm sorry.
Do that.
Okay, I'm going to let Representative Bacon.
Thank you. So on the committee report, what we just heard from Representative Bockenfeld, the bill was structured in two parts. The first was for military families to advance enroll, which means even though they get orders very early, they can use the base address so that they can start enrollment policies. The second part of the bill talked about if families could go to any school that they chose or participate in any district. And in committee, we submitted an amendment to strike that second part of the bill, as we feel we need more work to do on that. So from committee, we now have our amended bill, where the primary portion is to allow families that are moving into base to enroll using the base address. I urge and I vote.
All right, further discussion on the committee report. Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of the Education Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. All right, family.
And all those opposed, no. The ayes have it.
All right, to the bill. You want to go back to
The committee report is passed. Back to the bill.
Go ahead.
Representative Bockenfeld.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I ask for an aye vote. It's a great bill. It's the first step, and we're going to continue to work together to improve military children education going forward.
Representative Bacon.
Yes, thank you. I'd also like to point out, if you know anyone who's active duty or in the military, April is the month of the military child, so give them a pat on the back. We're doing this to support our service men and women and their families so that they can have equity and access to enroll in schools across the state. So we also urge an aye vote.
All right, Representative Baisley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We heard compelling testimony on this bill in Education Committee. We all loved it. Unanimous yes vote. I strongly support and recommend a yes vote.
All right, thank you. Further discussion on 1217. Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1217. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. 1217 is passed. Madam Majority Leader Esgar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move the committee rise and report.
Seeing no objection, the committee will rise and report.
House will come back to order. Mr. Gregorio, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee of the Whole begs leave to report it is under consideration the following attached bills being second reading thereof, makes following recommendations thereon. House Bill 1217 as amended, House Bill 1226 as amended, 1241, 1242 as amended, passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 67 as amended, passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Representative A. Valdez. You have heard the motion. There are 61, there's no amendments at the desk. The question before us is the adoption of the report of the Committee of the Whole. Just seeing if anyone's on their toes. Mr. Gregorio, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. Those participating remotely. Representative Michelson-Janae, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Michelson-Janae votes yes. Representative McLaughlin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative McLaughlin votes yes. Representative Jackson is excused. Representative Geithner. That's all right. Representative Geithner is excused. Representative Jackson and Representative Geithner, that's a $5 fine. Please close the machine. With 46 aye votes, 15 no votes, and 4 excused, the report of the Committee of the Whole is adopted. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to lay over the remainder of the calendar till tomorrow, Friday, April 15th?
16th.
16th. Don't want to hold us back.
Seeing no objection, the balance of the calendar will be laid over until Friday, April 16th. This brings us to announcements and introductions. Representative Byrd.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, remember we have finance upon adjournment, and because we're on a relatively compressed schedule, I'm going to ask committee members to please gather your things and head down to committee room 0112 as soon as possible. Same with our bill sponsors. And just as a reminder, the first bill up this afternoon is House Bill 1150 with Representative Judah. So everyone, please be fast. Thanks.
Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Business Affairs and Labor Committee, small update to accommodate schedules. We're going to start committee at 2 o'clock today instead of 1:30. 2 o'clock for Business Committee.
Representative A. Valdez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a reminder to members of House Energy and Environment, we will not be meeting this afternoon. So just wanted to put that out there. We will not be meeting. That is Energy and Environment. That's it.
Representative Lontine and Representative Catlin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Catlin and I are graduates of the Western Legislative Academy that CSG West puts on every year. And I noticed an email notice that the applications are due next Friday. It's a really good program. I learned so much. It's held down in the Springs. And I encourage you to get an application in.
Thank you. Representative Catlin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No, I'd like to encourage you, if you feel like being a legislator is something that you're interested in and that you want to know more about it, this is a nonpartisan training. You get an opportunity to meet legislators from all over the West. I met folks from Wyoming, from California, from Nevada, all over. Oh yeah, I met some guys from Hawaii. And finding out what we had in common, what we didn't have in common, surprisingly, we had a lot more in common than what I would have thought. If you have time, if you have inclination, this is worth doing. I would encourage it. It helped me. I got to know her. So, you know, I had to go out of town to meet and know her better. So. But that's really what happens. So if you have interest, talk to one of us. We'd be glad to help. Thank you.
Thank you to both Representative Lontine and Representative Catlin. Representative Will. And Representative Madam-elect, Mayor-elect.
I defer to my caucus co-chair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wanted to remind everyone at noon today, the Legislative Sportsman's Caucus will be on the virtual. You all have it on your email. Please join us. No hot dogs.
We
We'll
hope to
get
bring the
back to
hot
that.
dogs back.
I am hopeful that you don't, because I am 5 pounds lighter. I used to eat like 2 hot dogs and chips and all that. Mr. Minority Leader McKean. I'm joking. The hot dogs are great. I hope
The
they
hot
come
dogs
back.
were great. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Hey, so I decided not to do this on third reading, but I thought I'd come down now and just tell you a little something. You hear me speaking this well about our staff and the deep and very sincere appreciation for our nonpartisan staff in this building, our ledge counsel, our legislative legal services. And I was on a bill with Majority Leader Escar that was really important to me, and that is the way we fund our operations in this legislature, the House and the Senate, the things that we have to do. And I took my name off that bill, and it's a very quick explanation why. We're going to have a discussion about policy, about what we do going forward about AIDS. In fact, I had a conversation getting off the elevator today about this. We're going to have a really robust conversation, and I am very open to that discussion. I don't know where I'm going to land. I know kind of how I feel right now, and I kind of know that I want to make sure that we have that discussion in its entirety. And I thank the Speaker, because I told him I didn't want to really talk about this on third readings because it didn't have to do with the decision I was making then. What it has to do with is the discussion we all need to have together. And I think that's actually really important, because as we talk about what we do, it's going to affect all of us. And so as we do that, it's not just through a bill, it's not just through other things, it's through talking and figuring stuff out. And so, Mr. Speaker, I appreciate you giving me this opportunity. Madam Majority Leader, I appreciate your help in all of the ways that we do these things. But more than anything, I think it's important to come down here and remind our staff that they are literally the gears upon which this whole operation turns. And that when we pass that ledge appropriation bill, that is to make sure that the people who do all the work that we ask them to do each year know that they can keep doing it. So my heartfelt appreciation to all of them, to you, Madam Majority Leader, and I look forward to the discussion ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Minority Leader. Further announcements and introductions? Seen none. Mr. Gregory, I'm actually going to wait on the printing report, though I know everyone's very... they are anxious to know what I'm going to do with it. With that, Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the House stand in recess until later today.
Seeing no objection, the House will stand in recess till later today.